Thanks for joining us, Dr. Toler.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right. You know, Dr. Toler, if you could give the audience on Change Geek one piece of advice that has really helped you in being successful, and you also have, I've gotten to know you, and you have a lot of compassion and understanding as well, well-rounded as a person. Well, what advice would you give everybody in the audience?
Well, one of them is being able to sit in someone else's shoes, step away from yourself, and see if you can feel, you don't have to agree, but feel the way that they feel, and learn how what no one does is they don't listen. They listen to prepare their argument, but they don't listen for content. And it's hard to do.
It is hard. I'm guilty of that. I'm
guilty of it all the time. But you have to force yourself to step away. And when people feel that they're heard, they like you. They just
the validation of
right.
the argument, instead of you taking the time, listening to them, going, nodding, I hear you, so I can gather more time to argue back with you.
That's right. They're just preparing their argument instead of, man, I think that guy heard me. And it makes a world of difference. It's something I work on all the time.
So one of my first questions when we were getting to practice behind and discuss things behind the scenes, people might have looked at you and said, well, you don't look like you're a neurologist, whether you're in med school, or whether you're in Dartmouth, or whether you're in the all private schools where you're the only minority. And I found your statement about that really enlightening and profound. And can you share that, like when you were faced with adversity, what your father said about that, what he guided you?
My father felt like I was responsible for how people treated me more than anything else, not my color of my skin. I was responsible for my own behavior, and if you treat people the way you want to be treated, it's funny how it works out. That's how you get treated by them.
Well, what happens if, for instance, for example, I went through something where it didn't matter what I did as a young engineer, I encountered some other engineers that were not minorities, and no matter what I did or what outstanding performance I did or how many years of experience or how many hours in the field I worked on that project to absolute perfection, it didn't matter. I wasn't the stereotype of what they viewed an engineer should be in the field, which is not a woman. So what would you advise people when they experience that?
Well, you just live with it. I mean, that's what life is. All doctors, quote unquote, are tall, white males. And sometimes I get treated worse by my own race than I do by whites and by women. But I can't change those people. And so, to the best of my ability, I don't let them change me, and I don't let them make me angry. I need to be professional, continue to do what I know how to do, and that's all you can do.
I know that you're very successful in your career as well as your sister. What do you think are some, obviously your upbringing played a big part of that, and the adversity that you faced in your upbringing with your father's bipolar disorder. What helped you survive all that to be the successful person that you are? He obviously gave you very good advice. We'll cover.
Well, when I was younger, I tried to escape as much as I could. But when you're real young, there's nowhere really for you to go. But if I could spend the night away, if I could be somewhere else, that's what I would do. And even when we were young, my sister and I both began to learn how to manage him. And that's also how we dealt with him. One time I had us play Ring Around the Rosie, and we had to hold each other's hands, and we tried to make him sing. Those things sound silly, but we learned tools to try to manage him the best that we could.
In the business sense, isn't that what you do in your real world too? Like you deal with difficult people and you just do your best to manage them?
Yes, you do your best you can. You behave professionally. Don't allow yourself to become a victim. That's the worst thing you can do, because then you'll never really succeed if you let them influence how you think about yourself.
Well, it's interesting when you said like most of the difficult people that you've had have actually been other women and other minority women, and I got to share, I've had actually the same experience. A lot of my best bosses and best coaches and mentors were actually white men, and I found it interesting that a lot of the women or other women minorities have actually been tougher bosses on me, and very I've had several instances that were shall I say, unfavorable. Like there's a lot of yelling, and it's very unprofessional to be on the receiving end of that. And I found that that was my story, and I see that in your story, and as I'm talking to other people, they're also commenting about that.
Yeah, I think they see you as a competitor, not as a colleague to help push one another up. And white males don't do that. I think they've been on top so long, they don't view me as a threat. They see me as a colleague. But other women, sometimes I just think it's jealousy.
So I think, a shout out to all the, female minority professionals out there. We're all here to help each other be the best that we can be. And I think hopefully that's changing as the generations move forward, right? Well, Dr. Toler, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it on Change Geek.
Thank you.
Yeah. Until then, next time. Bye.